Have you ever seen someone so badly burned that they no longer had skin? What about someone who seemed to be in a vegetative state for weeks after a terrible accident? Did you know that these people woke up and went on to live normal lives? Yes, it sounds incredible, but it happened. In this video, we will share with you 5 stories of people who doctors said would never wake up. But these people surprised everyone and made a full recovery. Number 5. Turia Pitt, the woman who walked again after being burned in a wildfire. In September 2011, Turia Pitt, a 24-year-old Australian mining engineer and fitness model, was participating in an ultramarathon in the small town of Kinchela, about 150 miles northwest of Sydney. The event was a 100 kilometers race through rugged terrain and was expected to take most participants 3 days to complete. But Pitt had other plans. Just 11 hours after the race began, she had already covered 80 kilometers. However, the burning question is what happened next. As she neared the finish line, a grassfire suddenly erupted, forcing her to change her route and sprint for safety. Unfortunately, the fire spread quickly and trapped her. When rescuers finally reached her, she had already sustained 2nd and 3rd degree burns covering more than 65% of her body. At the time, her chances of survival were slim, yet somehow she managed to make a full recovery, walking again just 6 months after the incident. Her story was nothing short of a miracle. When emergency services arrived at the scene, they discovered that most of her skin had been burnt off her entire body, leaving her without any natural protection against infection. Despite this, she was rushed to the hospital alive, which was a shock to everyone involved. The extent of her injuries was so severe that doctors decided to place her in a medically induced coma for more than 2 weeks, while they performed multiple skin graft surgeries to save her life. But Pitt's recovery was far from easy. She endured 100 operations over the next 3 years, as she battled through skin infections, organ failure, and even the loss of her sight. Nevertheless, she remained determined to make a comeback. Her indomitable spirit was evident when she awoke from her coma and asked her mother, "How long until I can walk again?" The answer was not what she wanted to hear, as it would take years for her to regain mobility in her legs. Undeterred, she worked tirelessly with physical therapists and doctors, and finally took her first steps just 6 months after the fire. This was a remarkable achievement considering that doctors had given her only a 5% chance of survival. Her story gained worldwide attention, and she was invited to speak at TEDx where she shared her journey to recovery. In addition to her physical therapy, Pat also sought help from psychologists and counselors to cope with the trauma of the fire. She was determined to rebuild her life and reconnect with her family and friends. Patty's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit. Against all odds, she not only survived the wildfire, but she also regained her mobility, sight, and health. Her determination and positive attitude helped her through the difficult road to recovery and inspired others to never give up in the face of adversity. Now let's move on to the next point. Now 2 and 4, dramatic recovery of a boy who was in a vegetative state for 9 months. A boy who was declared brain dead and placed on life support for 9 months shocked his doctors and parents when he suddenly opened his eyes and began breathing on his own. The incredible incident occurred in 2013 when 13-year-old Javier Regalado from Mexico was riding his bicycle near his home. He suddenly collapsed and went into cardiac arrest. Despite the efforts of paramedics, he was eventually pronounced brain dead. However, his parents refused to give up on him. They took him off the ventilator so that he could be buried alive. 9 months later, the unthinkable happened. Javier suddenly opened his eyes and began breathing on his own. Although his parents were overjoyed, doctors were baffled. They ran tests and discovered that Javier was paralyzed from the waist down and had no brain activity. Nevertheless, Javier continued to improve. He began to move his arms and legs, swallow food, and respond to his name. After another 2 months, he was able to stand up with assistance and take his first steps. Miraculously, he was discharged from the hospital a year after the incident. His story is a true testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of hope. Doctors explained that it was a miracle that Javier survived the initial cardiac arrest, and even more remarkable that he regained consciousness after being buried alive. While the exact cause of his condition remains unknown, experts believe that it may have been due to a combination of factors, including a lack of oxygen to the brain and a rare medical phenomenon known as suspended animation. Number 3, coma for 20 years and then suddenly waking up. This is a case of a woman who was in a coma for 20 years and then suddenly woke up as if nothing had happened. It's important to note that there are many different types of coma, and not all of them last for long periods of time. Some people can be in a coma for several weeks or even months, and then make a full recovery. However, cases of people waking up from a 20-year coma are extremely rare. There was a case in China in 2016 where a woman named Xiao Yun woke up after being in a coma for nearly 20 years. She was in a car accident in 1996 that left her in a coma, and despite the best efforts of her family and doctors, she did not wake up until 2016. There are some reports of similar cases occurring in other parts of the world, but they are very uncommon. It's possible that these cases may be misdiagnosed, or that the individuals may have been in a state of suspended animation rather than a true coma. Yuri 2. A girl who was in a coma for 9 years and then surprised everyone by waking up. In 2014, a young girl named Asha Degree went missing in Shelby, North Carolina. Despite extensive searches, she was not found for several days. When she was eventually located, she was in a coma and had to be airlifted to a hospital. Doctors diagnosed her with a rare form of epilepsy, and she was placed in a medically induced coma for several months. However, she never regained consciousness and was transferred to a long-term care facility. For the next 9 years, Asha's condition remained unchanged until one day in 2023 when her nurses noticed that she was responding to commands. Since then, she has made a remarkable recovery and is now able to communicate with her family and friends. In an interview with NBC News, her mother, Celeste, expressed her disbelief at her daughter's sudden awakening after 9 years. She had lost all hope of her daughter ever recovering. Now she is working with doctors to help Asha adjust to life outside of the hospital and is hopeful that her daughter will continue to make progress. Number 1. Man who woke up after 39 years in a coma. A man named Owen Chamberlain from Wales, UK, has woken up from a coma after being in a persistent vegetative state for 39 years. In 1984, Owen suffered a severe brain injury after being hit by a van while riding his motorcycle. He was placed in a coma, and doctors told his family that he had no chance of survival. However, against all odds, he lived for decades in a vegetative state. Throughout Owen's time in the coma, his wife Gil never gave up on him. She visited him every day and spoke to him as if he were awake. In an interview with the media, Gil expressed her love and devotion to her husband, stating that she never lost hope that he would wake up. After 39 years in 2022, something remarkable happened. Owen suddenly began to respond to commands and even opened his eyes. Although he is unable to speak or move, he is conscious and aware of his surroundings. Doctors are still baffled by Owen's sudden awakening after all this time. They have run numerous tests, but they don't know why he came out of the coma. Some experts believe that it may be due to a change in brain activity, while others think that it could be triggered by external stimuli like voices or sounds. Regardless of the reason, Owen's family is overjoyed that he is alive and conscious. They are working with doctors to provide him with the care he needs to adjust to life outside of the coma. Owen's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit and the importance of never giving up hope. The bottom line is that if someone is unresponsive, it doesn't mean that they're not listening. Always be kind and compassionate towards others, especially those who are going through tough times. You never know what someone might be going through behind closed doors. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage for someone to open up, so it's important to create a safe and non-judgmental space where they feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings. By doing so, you may just make someone's day a little better. We've come to the end of our video. We sincerely hope that you enjoyed watching it. Please don't forget to show your support. We greatly appreciate your generosity. Also, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. Your feedback is very important to us, and we take it into account in the creation of new videos. Once again, thank you very much for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.